Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to my weekly deck reviews. This is one of my very favorite videos that I make because it's so much fun to talk about the decks that I've been working with over the past week and also introduce the stuff I'm going to be working with next week. And filming this video always marks the swap period where I put away what I've been working with and jump into the new stuff. So it's always that exciting like cusp of new fun things to play with. So if you're new here, typically I like to make this video once a week. I usually work with one tarot and one oracle deck each week, and then I rotate them out so that I can use all of my fabulous decks throughout the year. That's the goal anyways. But I'm really excited to talk about both what I worked with and what I'm going to be working with, so let's get into it. So the tarot deck I've been working with this week in this lovely jumbo, well, this is a large peggy bag because it needed a large peggy bag because this deck is ginormous, is the Gorgon Tarot. This deck is by Dolores Fitchy and it is enormous. I have a full walkthrough up on my channel, so I will link that up in the cards for you, but this has been such a joy to work with. I also used this deck when Peggy and I have been doing Tag Team Tarot this week, which I think we did just one over the past week. But Tag Team Tarot is when Peggy and I will get together and we'll pull some cards for people, do some free live readings, and oh, I love this card so much. This Queen of Wands is like everything. But we'll read the cards together for people and it's really fun. So this is the deck that I use primarily. In fact, I pulled this one out and I pulled the Light Seers Tarot out, and yet I found myself gravitating mostly towards this deck. I just find that the images are really easy to read. I feel like they give me tons to work with intuitively, which is really exciting for me as a reader because I like to have things that I can use as jumping off points. It's so funny because I'm looking at this in the viewfinder and my eyes are not the best, so I can't always tell when they're rotated. But I actually have to say I do kind of like how big they are because I do feel like it's nice to be able to sort of be drawn into the card, and I think the large size makes that easier. I also enjoyed working with these directionally, so when I was doing readings for myself and I was actually laying out the cards, I would shuffle the deck, which I'm going to talk about shuffling this big boy in a minute, but I would shuffle the deck and then I would just pull the card and I would flip it directly over. If it was reversed like this, then I would see that like I would read a reversal. If it's pushing, so it's facing to the right, I would see that as a dominant energy or an overpowering kind of energy, however that card usually reads. And if it's pulling or if it's going like pointing to the left, then I would read that as like a resistance to that energy. So that's been really fun to work with, and it's been a mechanic that I have learned about from reading with round decks or working with round decks, that I've been wanting to work with, but because I hadn't yet found the round deck for me, I hadn't been able to play with that, and it was really fun to work with that directionality. But this is really fun. You can watch all of my very detailed thoughts on it because I recorded like the walkthrough that I linked up in the cards is like an hour. Like it's really long, but I went through every single card and talked about my impressions and like the things that I picked up on during that really detailed sort of tour through the cards. Shuffling, let's talk about shuffling. Oh, and modifying. I did edge these cards in black. Most of the card edging that I have done since I started modifying decks has been with alcohol-based Copic style markers, art markers. They're very quick drying, they never rub off on my hands or anything. This deck, however, by the time I was done using this deck in Tag Team Tarot, which was I think about 24 hours after I had edged it in black Sharpie, my hands were black by the end of it because it had rubbed off on me. And somebody, and I cannot remember who off the top of my head, suggested that you rub paper toweling on the edge to sort of buff off any excess. And I did that after that, and I had no more problems with my fingers turning black using this. But anyways, let's talk about shuffling. So it is actually a little too big for me to hand over hand because when I try to do this, I find the cards start to bend. The cardstock is perfectly sturdy feeling to me. It does have though some flex, and thank goodness for that, because if this deck did not have flex, it would be so hard to handle, or if the cardstock was any thicker. So I like this stock. The fact that it's glossy also helps it feel more durable. But I wasn't really able to do a whole lot of this hand over hand, even though I have larger hands and can get my fingers around it. I was able to just barely, with some practice, split the deck in 2 halves, get my fingers around, but it's a stretch and I have big hands, okay? And rifle it and bridge it. But what I've typically done the most of is, let's see if I can show this on camera. I'm gonna have to turn my body, hold on. So I would push so that I'm holding a chunk of cards, but you can see how they're kind of like they're sort of started to be fanned. How else do I say that? So I grab it so that they're starting to be fanned like that. And then I do like this. So I grab a little chunk like that. And then I just kind of like use my thumb to push some of them off the top of the pile. So it's kind of like hand over hand, but it's holding it from the side. Now somebody in, I believe, last week's weekly deck review video or in my walkthrough commented that they do something similar, like they hold it at the edge and like hand over hand. And that has been working really, really well. Plus I can rifle. I also this week played with spreading these out on like a table and like swirling them around like this. Yep. Swirling them around and then scooping them back up. But I just found that most of the time this like just pulling a bit and just like hand over hand a little bit at a time, letting it get mixed up and just be pretty like that. So that worked. Whew. That was a lot though to try to figure it out. Okay, Schiffer Publishing. If you should ever watch one of my videos, we love you. We really, really love you. But you gotta figure out your cardstock production stuff, because I feel like Schiffer puts out some of the neatest, most unique decks, and yet there's always that little thing, right? Like this deck, if it was just a little bit smaller, and bless you if it were matte and smaller would make this a dream deck. Like if it was about the size of this inner circle, still be nice and big. But yeah, I mean, I do, like I said, I love the size. I don't mind the borders at all. The black just goes really well. I think it contains the patterning that you see in the images. I wouldn't make it borderless, but I would make it smaller and matte if I had my personal choice. But like, you guys, Schiffer, we love you. Give us, and you're starting to, like I've noticed some Schiffer decks have started to come out that have had some really glorious looking matte cardstock. There's definitely, the potential is there. Everyday Enchantments by Poppy Palin. That is a beautiful, buttery, matte cardstock. We need more of that. Now, mind you, this deck was originally printed, and I don't think it's been reprinted since, in 2014. So maybe this is just one of those decks that just, I mean, but it's round, and I love it. I love it. I love it. I really, really enjoyed working with it. Okay, I'll stop talking to Schiffer now. That was probably really annoying. But I really enjoyed playing with this deck. I really love this giant, okay, it's not giant, but it's a large peggy bag with these like little shooting stars all over it and stuff. I absolutely adore it. And the book is fantastic. So the writing in this is so good. And when I say the writing is good, what I mean is that it's I think it's very straightforward, and I think it's plain speak. I don't know if that's the right term. It's not trying to be fancy. I think that it does a great job getting the idea of the message of each card across and giving it a lot of its own personality, its own voice. And it's just, it's awesome. I feel like I got some great little tidbits out of this deck. I thoroughly enjoyed reading the entry every time I pulled a card because there was just something a little bit fresh about the way that this was written. The size is great because it means that it can live with my cards in their peggy bag. Love this. Love, 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 love. Very pleased that I got to play with this. The Oracle deck that I worked with alongside it in my Rebel Denim bag is my Sacred Rebels deck. Now I trimmed this one. This is a Blue Angel? Yeah, this is a Blue Angel deck. This is the guidebook. It is a chunk. I didn't actually use the guidebook very much this month, or this week. I didn't feel like I really needed to. But yeah, I have trimmed my deck, so I've trimmed all the borders off. And I just think it looks so gorgeous with no borders. I love the artwork. I feel like this is just really wonderful for sinking into yourself. I think this would be a really excellent companion oracle deck if you're doing some shadow work. I feel like I got really great messages. I usually do off of this deck. It's like an oldie but a goodie, right? It's one of the ones I've had the longest, and I really enjoy working with it. And by longest, I mean like this type of deck. Yeah. I don't have very many of this style. I have this one and I have the Gaia Oracle and a couple of others, but this one is just really great. And I love the jeans bag for the Sacred Rebels. Like, it matches, right? Rebel, jeans. You get where I was going with that? Yeah. At any rate, I really, really enjoyed that. I am still working with my runes. These have just been great. Like I said, I'm starting to get to know them. I show them every single week, so I'm not going to go crazy here, but they're just little onyx runes, and they're great. I love the little bag I keep them in, and my method has been the same as I've been doing. So I draw my tarot deck, my tarot card of the week. I draw my, or of the day rather. I draw my oracle card, and then I draw a rune. So I'm just going to show you, I forgot to do this, but I want to show you kind of what these look like next to each other. So this is kind of what they look like. So you get some like color. Oops, you get the black and white. Yeah. I was talking to Dani and Dustin during 3 Fat Readers though, and we were talking about how we pair our decks. And for Dani and Dustin, it's very like aesthetic. And I find that for me, it's almost more an energetic, if that makes any sense. Like if the feeling of the decks kind of goes together, then I like to pair them. Yeah. Sometimes it's aesthetic, not all the time. And along with my runes, I'm still using the Living Magic reading cards. These are by, what did I just say? The Rune Learning Cards by Living Magic, I believe is the name of the publisher. It's Jadzia and Jay DeForest. I might have that wrong. Let me know if you need a link. I will definitely drop it down below. But these are really simple. They're just like a flashcard style, but they're just so convenient. I have a rune book as well, but I'm finding that these are the easiest, quickest, and most convenient for me to use to work with. So those are what I'm working with there. The only other thing I haven't really talked about is the guidebook for the Sacred Rebels. This is good, but it is long. Every entry for every card is really, really long. So I didn't use the guidebook very much. There were a couple of days where I wanted to use the healing process. So with Alana Fairchild's decks, a lot of times you get, in her guidebook, she'll get a healing process, which is like a little meditation or practice, something that you can do to sort of sink into the energy of that particular card. And I definitely enjoyed doing that on a couple of days this past week, but most of the time I find that I just don't have the time or inclination to reach into this, because what I typically do day to day is I pull my tarot, I pull my oracle, I pull my rune, I take a photo, sorry for traffic noises, and then I journal. So by the time I'm done doing all of that, I'm like, I don't need more, right? So that is why I like decks with really good keywords, because I like to be able to intuitively jump off of just the keywords. Sacred Rebels has good enough keywords that I can just go with that and not need the guidebook, which is what I prefer. The reading cloth that I used this week, I haven't done any like pictures of my cards on Instagram for like a good couple of months, I feel like, but this is the reading cloth I was using. I kind of crunched it up on purpose so that it would have this like intentional wrinkly look, but this is like a slate looking design on one side, and both sides looked great, especially behind that Gorgon tarot with that black and white. Oh, so good. So this was a good choice. Okay. Let's talk about what I'm working with next week. Starting like right now. I'm really excited. Okay. So first is my tarot deck of the week. Now this one has been in my collection for a bit, and outside of inner child readings, I haven't reached for it, but this is my Happy Tarot. Oh my gosh, when I tell you that I am excited to work with this week, you just have no idea. Like my heart and my mind needs this deck right now. It's like I need that bubbly, like, lightness. I need the palette cleanser that this deck sort of represents to me. I need to sink into this sort of caring, self-care, me time sort of space. And this deck is just so full of light and hope. And it's everything. These are the backs. This is a low Scarabeo deck. There is, I believe if you order this deck now, you will get the borderless version. This one was sent to me by a subscriber who knows who she is. And I'm really grateful to have this. It was actually sent to me, I don't know if you can see it in the back because my camera doesn't focus, with one of these giant swirly lollipops, which I have hung on my wall because it's so cute. I don't know much about the little white book, but I'll just show it to you really quickly. So it's a little white book. It's not terribly thin, but it does have multiple languages. So let's see how many pages of English. It'll give you an idea. Because there's about 22 pages, so they're pretty short little descriptions. So we'll see how I do. I probably won't need to rely on the guidebook too much because it looks like these are pretty much standard Rider-Waite-Smith. I don't think there's a whole lot of deviation, to be honest. No, it's pretty standard Rider-Waite-Smith, just in the fun, happy tarot style. Like, look at that Four of Wands. And like I said, I've used this for inner child readings, but I've only done a couple of those since I got this deck. So I'm really excited to work with it exclusively for a week. And you know I will have this with me if you join me and Peggy for a tag team tarot this week. So like, heads up, if you want a reading with the Happy Tarot, that's how you can get one. That or booking one with me on my Etsy shop, which I never talk about because I never talk about it. But I do readings through my Etsy shop. I don't do a whole lot to promote it. I don't have a ton of time, so my turnaround time is not super speedy. I think I usually turn readings around within about 5 business days or so, but I really enjoy doing them, and you're always welcome to request a particular deck if you've seen one on my channel and want a reading with that one. So, Oracle deck. So that's the tarot deck I'm going to be working with this week, and the Oracle deck I'm going to be working with, again, my heart just needed it, wanted it, is my Whispers of Lord Ganesha deck. This is another Blue Angel. It has a guidebook. I don't really use the guidebook, so I have that put away, but I just love this deck, and I think its bright colors and its jovial, happy energy will go so beautifully next to the Happy Tarot. I also love that there are chakra cards in this deck. I also have a unboxing. I mean, beware, it's from almost a year ago, so I will link that up in the cards, but I do have an unboxing of this deck. I also have an unboxing of the Happy Tarot, and if I've thought about it by the time I am looking at this video on YouTube and getting ready to upload it, I will also put a card for that one to show the unboxing, because that was really fun. I think it was a live, but it was really fun. Anyway, these are really bright, they're really colorful. I think they'll hold up appearance-wise next to the Happy Tarot, and I think it'll just be good energy to work with this upcoming week. I have edged this deck in a yellow that I thought matched the backs perfectly, so really looking forward to that. That one is also in a Peggy bag. This is so gorgeous with it being borderless and full size. No desire whatsoever to do any kind of trimming or anything. It's so pretty. I like it. I'm so excited for this week's decks. They just feel like they're going to be like a balm to my soul. This is the reading cloth I'm going to work with this week. One of my OG Peggy cloths. This one is a tie-dye bright. You've probably seen a similar one on Simon at the Hermit's Cave channel, because I believe he has something very similar that he got from her. And this is the back. Mine has got this like purple kind of crushed velvet on the other side. And yeah, so I think these, I probably am not going to use the tie-dye side very much. We'll see. It might be too bright, but if not, I have that purple side, so win-win. That is what I'm going to be working with this week. I'm still going to be working with my runes in the upcoming week and continuing to use those. Mostly it's a practice activity at this point, because I don't know the runes by heart, and the longer I work with them, the more they're starting to stick. I already know for sure which one is like the runes version of the tower, which is Hagalaz. That is like the hail or the storm rune. I already know that one. When I draw it, I know what that one means. So there's a few that are starting to really stick, and the longer I do this, the better that will get. So I'm just gonna keep going until I feel super comfortable with them and can just pull them out whenever and throw them down, and I'm really excited about that. So I've been having a lot of fun with everything I'm working with, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to working with these this week. So watch for these to show up in any activities or things like that I do. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I will see you all again very soon. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Oh, and hit the little bell. because when it's working, you'll get a notification when I go live, which the Tag Team Tarot are not on a schedule. So that'll make sure that you get notified, and you'll also get notified when I put up new videos, which is always fun. So I'll see you guys again later. Bye.